Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
This episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess is sponsored by the children's book Feathers Matter. As our kids grow up, they face challenges in their life, and knowing their self-worth and their value is crucial to face the headwinds. Purchase this beautiful story to read to your kids and grandkids and start the conversation with them at a young age. They are worthy, they matter, and their feathers matter. You can find the link to order on our Blended, Blessed, alwaysamess.com page. Mention code #blessed for an autographed copy. Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where, Ange, your lighting, you look so tan and beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I'm looking kind of pale, but we're approximately the same tan. So if you're a little darker based on recent photos, but I'm still pretty tan. So if we were to go back to this past weekend in Colorado and look at our photos together, we're similarly tan.
All right. I'll have to go back and fact check that and do a comparison.
Yeah, I'm just saying, maybe post something for the listeners. But the point of today's episode is it's been pretty heavy the last several weeks around here as we've gone through leading up to trial, post-trial. And I thought today we could talk about something that hasn't happened since Hallie passed, and that's joy, like real, true joy that both of us felt, because you made a post on our socials about it earlier this week. And if you haven't liked us on Facebook, Instagram, do that, share our stuff there if you would. But you made a post. I wrote a blog about this on our way home from Colorado on Monday on the airplane. Surprisingly to no one, what Angie wrote on our Facebook and Instagram is way better than anything I would write. And so we talk about this. It's like, I talked about this with our counselor last week. Like, you're better with words typed or written. I'm better with words verbalized. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah. I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. So I tried to write what I was feeling as we flew home. And tonight we'll talk about it. But the gist of things are that God has these full circle moments that we know happen. And for our family, we lost joy when Hallie died. And several months ago, we had our Angels on Earth nurses, Bailey and Hallie, on the podcast. They walked us into this grief journey. It should not be a surprise that now 20 plus months later, the first time we would feel joy would be with nurses Bailey and Hallie.
Yeah, it's pretty ironic if you think about it. There's a lot of numbers tied to it too. Like, it's been 20 months. Hallie was 20 when we lost her. There is we call it trauma bonded with Bailey and Hallie, but it was weird because I was really looking forward to going to the wedding. And in my past, I never really got excited about weddings. You know, if you listen,
even ours, I don't think she didn't really.
To the very beginning of our journey, like, having a wedding was like, that's dumb. Why would you be legally bound to someone? But and then we got married, and it was just this beautiful, joyful time for all of us. And I was looking forward to the wedding because I really felt like Hallie would be there. Like, this would be a moment that she would be so joyful for Bailey. But I was surprised at how I felt.
Tell me more about that.
Never would have expected it. I mean, sometimes it's just hard to describe. So I've said it many times in this podcast, but losing a child, like that grief and that pain is so deep in your bones and your soul and just your entire core. Like it is who you become in a lot of ways, is this pain. You become this pain. And you don't ever feel like that pain will ever go away. Like there's no way that pain will ever go away. So you just go through this acceptance of, this is who I am. This is what I have to carry. And this is what it's going to feel like forever.
I would say that's fair.
Yeah. I know I'm not the same person. And I know that I have had moments of joy and moments of smiling and laughing and enjoying the day, all of that. But this weekend, I felt that level of joy in the same depths of where grief lives. Like, so it wasn't surface level like I've had in the last 20 months where it's like, oh, okay, that was fun. I got this moment of joy. But like that whole weekend, but especially the night of the wedding, I felt it in the same places that grief lives.
I could see it, if I'm being honest. Like I could see it.
Yeah, weddings are emotional. It's not that I didn't cry out of sadness at the wedding. I did. You were there with me. I'm like, I'm so happy for them. And I love that everybody is happy for their love and being around them and sharing that with them. And then you instantly feel the grief of like, I never had that with Hallie. I never had excitement over the person that she was with. We'll never have a wedding excitement. And even the girls, Lexi and Summer, had moments of tears and sadness because they know they'll never have that with their sister. They'll never give a speech at her wedding, and she'll never give a speech at theirs. She will never be the maid of honor. She'll never be in someone's wedding. Like all these big, big plans that we all dream of, especially girls, like that's not ever going to happen. And so you grieve everything. But this weekend, along with that, I felt joy in those depths. And I think it's also so weird because I didn't realize that I haven't danced in a long time. And there's studies that have shown that dance is like a great way to combat depression. It's that body movement, it's that release. If you think about it, like it's really hard to dance if you're sad or mad or have any heavy emotion. I don't think you can do it. Like in order to dance, like you have to feel light. You have to feel happiness. You have to feel like a celebration of moving your body. Right? Like, and so I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, like even just getting out there on the dance floor is almost like surreal. Our kids were out there on the dance floor just having the best time. And then we joined them. But like walking out on the dance floor, it was like I had to let go of that heaviness for a minute and really be in it, let go of it. And it was the first time that I feel like that I could let go of it for a minute and just sort of enjoy being there in the moment and just let that heaviness go.
I don't write the blogs or the podcasts. You do that. That's fair to say. You put in all the hard work on writing. That's what you do. You're good at it. I'm not a great writer. And there's a reason I felt super compelled to write on the way home on Monday, because it was so blatantly obvious to me that something different had happened over the last 20 months. I vividly remember exactly where you and I were standing when we talked about Hallie and you never getting to experience that and the tears. I know exactly where we were in that little open area where the garage doors had open. I loved that night. I remember so much about everything that happened Sunday night. And I think that's because for the first time in 20 months, my life felt normal. I love you with everything I have. And I am not, we've talked about this before. Like you've said, it's like I'm married to a dead person. And it's true. Like I'm not married to the person that I married. Kids were even joking the other night. That night, Sunday night, they were joking about like, sometimes we feel bad for Aric because he's like, I love you. And you're just like, click, hang up the phone. And I watched, I took in so much of Sunday night because for the first time in 20 months, my life felt like it did when I met you and married you. And it hadn't felt like that in so long for all of our kids, not just you, for our family. Like I watched our family have a night, as I wrote on the plane ride home, a night like when we got married on 4/3/2/1 3 years ago. I mean, it was one of the most joyful nights that I personally have experienced for sure since Hallie died, because I saw my wife and I saw our kids and all the baggage somehow, I think because of Bailey and Hallie and the way that God works magically and mysteriously, got left at the door so that we could have fun and love each other and be the crew for a night. I could not have been happier to just watch it and to watch you dance, to watch you smile, for you to dance with me as your husband, someone that loves you so much. And I watch this journey of grief that you're on. And I watch every day how you cry and you fight to get out of bed and then to fight to go to sleep when you get into bed. It's so heavy for you. It's heavy for me. And for you to actually enjoy something with real joy, not fake joy. Like I saw real joy in my wife for the first time in 20 months. I wanted to take it all in as much as I could and drink it in and watch our kids dance and you dance and all of that. And so super special. And I have held on to that all week long. I think when we think about this all the time, we talk about God winks. And I just want to go back briefly to Hallie. You said earlier, you felt like Hallie would be actively engaged in this wedding. And I did feel that all weekend long. If we could go back there for a second, is that good? You know, from the time we got there Friday night and got to meet my cousin, who I haven't seen in 11 years, one of my all-time favorite people. Backtrack. Bailey, Hallie's nurse, I think we've shared this before in the podcast, was my very first niece in my first marriage. She was 6 when I came around, and her and I always had a special bond. We were very close. I would take her to get donuts. I did tell her this weekend, I felt like I should have taken her to get donuts the weekend of her wedding. And I missed that opportunity, and that was on me. So I apologize to her. But I hadn't seen some of her family in 17, 18 years since we've been divorced. Even though Bailey and I stayed close, that's why we were all close. And so introducing you and the kids to her uncle on the other side of her family, Jason, on Friday night, that's an experience in itself. And so it kind of starts there. You meet somebody like a Jason Dent who instantly makes you and the twins laugh, even though he's super inappropriate. You start to see some of the guard let down and some of the smiles and things like that. And then we're able to start like doing some things throughout the weekend, whether it's bike riding around Dillon Lake or hiking or whatever that might be, that brings a little bit of joy into your life. Now, saying all those things, I remember the day that we got the news that Hallie had been shot. And the first person I reached out to was Bailey, because I knew she worked in the ICU at Mizzou. And she was like, they're not on my board. She's not on my board. I don't think this is happening. But when it came true and Bailey saw Hallie's name on the board, I knew that somehow God was working in this situation, in this story, that my niece, Lexi and Carter's first cousin, was caring for Hallie. Somehow, some way, this is God's story. And so then she brings Hallie into it. Basically what happens is if you're on call, you have to take care of every patient on the floor. And Bailey knew she couldn't do that. So she took off her shift, called in her best friend and nurse, Hallie, who we've talked to and about, so that both of them could give Hallie care for 2 days, because now Bailey is off work and can just focus on our family solely. So I knew at that point that it was going to be incredibly important. Something God was working in our lives, that Bailey was working the day that this happened to Hallie. And so as those two nurses walked Hallie into the arms of Jesus and trauma bonded with us, this was one of those things that I don't feel like just like that and now the wedding, it's all over. In between, they've been on the podcast. We've gone to dinner. They've shown up for our kids, all the different things. These nurses continue to show up. And that's part of why our kids had so much fun at the wedding, because they felt trauma bonded to both Bailey and Hallie. When you say, I mean, there was a trauma bond that transcended into the weekend.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That connection's there for our entire family. I mean, you don't go through something like that and lose that bond. Like it's a forever thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it didn't matter. Like from the time we got to the kind of welcome rehearsal dinner-ish thing on Saturday night before the wedding on Sunday, we spent a lot of time with both Bailey and Hallie as a family. And it was fantastic. So you just felt like with all that happening, Hallie was going to show up. How would that be? What would that look like? Well, we got our answer like we normally would. And the fact that it was a beautiful weekend in Colorado, and there was only one tiny chance of rain right about wedding ceremony time. And what happened?
Yeah, we all had our umbrellas as we
It started raining.
Took our seats because it was raining, and just kind of this nasty drizzle. And as we got seated and we sat there and everybody has their umbrellas up, they were like, hey, when the bride and groom walk in, like you guys, everybody has to put their umbrellas down for pictures, right? That would not look great.
It's an outdoor wedding in the mountains against a stream.
I leaned over to Aric and we both were thinking the same thing. I'm like, I can't imagine Hallie's going to let this rain happen when they're saying their vows. And Eric's like, yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. And so sure enough, as the wedding ceremony starts, that's when the drizzle stops. So everybody could put their umbrellas down and could, enjoy the ceremony without the nasty rain. And then after the wedding was done, then the drizzle starts back up, and it rained for a little bit after that, but then it turned into this amazing, beautiful evening because part of the reception was outside.
And the dancing was outside.
And the dance was outside.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, it did rain on everybody. And it was pouring when we went to our hotel, but no one cared. It was like, nobody cared.
It was like
dance
the last
in the rain.
10 minutes. The last 10 minutes of the dance was in the rain after like 4 hours. And you just felt like Hallie was such a big part of that. And that was part of the joy. It felt like she was with our family in all of that. And so I just thought that was amazing to watch. The sky's clear. You and I look at each other and just know, and then to see that happen. And then the joy kicked in when the dance happened, when the toasting happened, when the dancing happened. All of a sudden we were celebrating Nurse Bailey's big day, almost in Hallie's honor. And it, for me, was some of the most fun that we have had as a family since our own wedding day on 4-3-2-1.
Oh, hands down, 100%. 100% to experience that joy. I don't know. Like when I do get angry over what happened, there's a lot of anger over what has done to everybody, but especially me. Like I feel lost and feel like, am I ever going to feel that again? And so having the experience it this weekend, that it's possible, that you can now feel that joy in the like depths of your bones and your soul. It was like shocking to me. It was refreshing, and even though like you go back into reality and it's not a permanent feeling, it gave me hope that I could feel that. And then it made me start thinking, like, because you know me, I'm a thinker.
You are.
I'm
You're
like,
deep.
am I depressed? Like, what is the difference between being so damn sad over everything that has happened versus like depression? What's the difference? Do you know the difference?
No, but I know you're a thinker, so you've already looked it up before you asked.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I Google this shit because it's like,
You got some
am
meta
I
AI
am I
stuff.
depressed and I'm never gonna feel that joy again? Or like we're coming up on 2 years in November. I mean, it's scary to me because I want to feel that, but like there's just this heavy grief. And you talk to any mom that's lost kids, it's like, yeah, it's the same thing. You learn to live with it. Anyway, yeah. So like 1 in 6 people will have depression at some point in their life. 1 in 6. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And CDC says approximately 16 million adults are affected by depression each year. So I guarantee you I'm not the only one that has Googled what is the difference between sadness, anguish, and like depression. So like some of the symptoms of depression are feeling sad and anxious often or all the time, not wanting to do activities that used to be fun, feeling irritable, easily frustrated, or restless. I mean, are you going through and checking these boxes in your mind? Looks like you are. Looks like you're
No.
having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. Some of these might actually apply to you too. So don't be looking at me with those.
Whoa, we'll
eyes.
get there, woman. I'm giving you
Waking up too early or sleeping too much. I wish I had the sleeping too much problem.
This morning you did.
I know, but like, what time
That's
was
rare.
I went to sleep?
That's rare.
At 7 o'clock, 11 to 7.
Yeah, 8 hours for us. That's a lot.
Eating more or less than usual, or having no appetite.
So safe to say you're clinically depressed is what we're hearing.
Experiencing aches and pains and headaches or stomach problems that do not improve with treatment.
Are you gonna
Having trouble concentrating and remembering details or making decisions. Feeling tired even after sleeping well. Feeling guilty, worthless, or helpless. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, all right. Now, if you look up extreme like sadness and grief, you have all the same symptoms. Very similar. But I just feel like a lot of times things happen to you and you're in a certain mode. And until you experience something like this weekend, you don't realize. I mean, obviously, I know how bad I have felt the last 20 months, but the difference, I think, is more around like emotional, like complete shutdown and cutting off relationships in life and not really living. You're more blocking everything out. I think that's kind of the difference between deep sadness versus like depression. But we're all going to cross. I mean, a lot of us are going to cross it at some point in our life because of the world we live in.
I mean, I feel like I sat in that from last June until December.
Yeah.
And what I witnessed this weekend, why this was so powerful for me and I wanted to write it down, was that I met you and I entered a relationship with the happiest, I would say the happiest, kindest, sweetest person I ever met. Still the sweetest and kindest, but now the saddest person I've ever met. And I watch it. I see it every day. I see somebody that's going through all the things you just read off. And that's really difficult when you love someone the way that I love you, to watch someone live their life that way every fucking day. And so to just get a few hours to see the person that I met and fell in love with and married enjoy life meant the world to me. It made me think, okay, maybe there's going to be some more days where she likes life again. Because otherwise, you can, as we talked about last week, People are going to try to put you in a box. They don't know where you're living. I see it every day. I see the person that's really sad every day and going through the motions, and you're doing everything you can. But to finally witness you be happy and to have joy that was not faked, it was real, to watch our children have the same joy and you to have that with them, it felt like the first year that we were together. And I honestly don't think I thought that was ever possible again after what's transpired over the last 20 months. And so to see that at the wedding, just it filled my heart. It filled my soul. It made me feel so blessed that I could see you enjoy life. You're never going to understand how much that meant to me. My heart breaks for you every day. And I say that to you, and I think you don't. Maybe you understand, but I don't think you understand I watch the person I love walk through life broken. And at least for one night, you looked unbroken. And that's why I don't ever write about anything. You know that. And that's why I wrote about it flying home, because I just wanted to have it on my phone so I could reread it and remember it, because it's just been so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Try being the person living in it.
I'm not judging you.
I'm
not judging you.
No, I know. But I think the whole point in sharing all of this is that if you are going through a long and hard season, that there is hope out there. Like, you can experience true joy. I think you have to give yourself the grace and the patience and the ability to sit in it. But don't lose sight of that is never possible again. It is possible. Everybody's on their own journey. So, I can't say, well, when you hit the 20-month mark, you're going to find it, but it can happen. And when it does, soak up every second of it. So anyway,
I'm definitely replaying the wedding, and it's been 3-4 days now. And I just keep replaying all the fun and the memories in my mind. And yeah, it's so great. Went through the pictures again this afternoon. I would say again, this is one of those God moments where I think we should have no surprise in our lives that God used the two girls that walked us into this grief journey as Hallie passed away, nurses Bailey and Haley, as the same conduits that walked you and our family back into some joy for the very first time. Like that, you're never going to convince me that's not God going, this is how I work. Trust me.
He heals.
Don't trust yourselves. Trust me. Yes.
He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. So it'll eventually happen.
I don't have anything else today. I just wanted to share this with the listeners that have listened for so long and they've heard us talk through our sadness and our grief, that there is joy and that we got to experience it together. And I would just say to you, to be able to dance with my wife and to kiss my wife and to take a picture with my wife where you felt some joy and I could feel the joy coming through you. That was the most soul-filling thing that has happened to me in 2024. And we're into August. And the most soul-filling thing that happened to me in 2023. So over 20 months. I mean, it's been a long time. But I loved that so much, and I'm super grateful.
I agree. It was definitely a connection point. I mean, I felt all of that too. And it was exciting to feel that connection. And I don't know if it was the dancing. I mean, I'm starting to read a lot about dancing and how it combats. Well, because for me, there was this moment of being on the dance floor and I haven't danced in a long time. And it was just like, oh, this is weird. It's weird. And so I was like, what is it about dancing and there's actually a lot of studies out there that show that an exercise to treat depression, sadness is dancing. And it's like, whether that's, it's moving your body, but a lot of it is tied to like that movement, especially linked to trauma, that it lightens that heaviness, creates like that resilience, and kind of airs out like emotions that you're suppressing, which if you think about it, like you're holding so tight to everything that has happened and that loss, that in order to dance, you kind of have to release it. So I don't know. It was interesting to me of the different connection points where things did feel lighter and you could really be in the moment. And it was really when we were on the dance floor.
I noticed it for the first time in the first like 20 minutes of dancing when they played Flow Rida. She got them apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. And I was like, oh, she's kind of dancing. This is happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is really.
That's my jam.
She got the whole world looking at her. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wait, this is
field parties when I was growing up.
Happening. Uh-oh, here we go. And so, yeah, that was good. I was glad.
And my kids were all they were covering the dance floor.
We had so many people come up and be like, your family is the life of this party. Like your family we love watching your kids. And they had a great time. Dane couldn't make it, but Lexi, Carter, Summer Chase, they were crushing it.
They had so much fun.
It was fantastic.
Well, the good news. Kids. They're the older kids too. So it was almost like one of those first times where we could all really go out and have fun together. I don't know. It was a different vibe and energy too.
So, I mean, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to come upstairs. I'm going to turn on some music. Ready to dance it out.
Oh, I'm so sleepy.
Okay, now we're back. Now we're back. She's back in depression mode. It is what it is. I gave it an effort. I gave it the A+ effort.
God.
And here we go. I was so glad to see you happy, Ange. I love you so much. And it was really nice to just see you smile and enjoy yourself for one night. For each and every one of you that are listening, that have seen our messages on social, you can see the pictures from the week. We might share more videos from the dance. Who knows? But
we're not.
No? Okay. All right. My moves are too sick. At the end of the day, we had a great time, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Hope you have a wonderful week, and God bless. Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.